Good day, ladies and gents. Today we're going to be talking about transformations. First of all, let's go ahead and get some notes out of the way. You can copy this down. I'll zoom out so that you can look at this later, but let's just read through this real quick. Transformations. So transformations are a change in position, size, and shape. We have the pre-image, which is the original figure, the image, which is the transformed figure or the new shape. So you start with the shape, that's the original, and then you move it somehow, whether it be a rotation, slide, reflection, any of that, and that is the transformed figure or the new figure. That is the image. All right, congruent is has the same measure or equal measure. All right, rigid motion. This is important, so put a star next to it. So rigid motion or isometry is a transformation in the plane that preserves distance and angle. So distance and angle measure. So that's translate, rotate, reflect, everything but dilation. So if you look at your hot topics, here are all the transformations. So translation, which is a slide, reflection, which is a flip, rotation, which is a turn, glide reflection, which is a slide and flip, and then a dilation, which is zoom in, zoom out. However, a rigid motion, a pre-image and image are congruent. The motion where the shape preserves the shape and size. So it's everything but dilation. So translation, rotation, reflection, and glide reflection. So those are the good ones. All right. Now, translation. Translation is a slide, a transformation that moves points in the same distance and in the same direction. So it just slides over. Line of symmetry, the imaginary line where you could fold the image in half. So if I had this picture, that is the line of symmetry. Composition of transformations. So a combination of two or more transformations. So the second is transformation done on the first one. So 0 turns into 1, and then 1's going to turn into 2. So notice that 0 and 2, I didn't reset myself. I didn't slide 0. 0 turned into 1, and I pretend that 0 didn't happen, and then I slide number 1. All right, let's keep going. All right, reflection. Reflection, aka a flip, a transformation that such that the geometric figure is flipped across the line of reflection. So if I had this line of reflection, I just flip it over. It kind of looks angry, but that's okay. All right, so notice that the distance from this point to the line of reflection, so let's say it's 7 hops, would also be 7 hops, and there's the new figure. And notice that if I drew a line from one to the other, this line right here and the reflection line meet at a 90-degree angle. And let's say that this one and this one is 2 hops away. See, it keeps the same number. Line of reflection. The line of that is the line of symmetry that is equidistant from the image and the pre-image. So that's the 7 and the 7. So here's the line of symmetry. This line, this is 7 hops. That's 7 hops. But this is the line of symmetry right here. All right, reset a little bit. Okay, center of rotation. That is a fixed. The fixed point where a geometric figure rotates about, and which we'll have more practice with later. Rotation, aka a turn of a positive number of degrees about a fixed point. Now we could say clockwise or counterclockwise, but it's always going to be positive. Okay, and that point that you're rotating around, that is called the center of rotation. All right. Glide reflection, the composition of a translation followed by a reflection. So like this one, I reflected and then I glided. So let's say I slid it over here. So, okay, I cross a line parallel to the direction of the translation. Okay, and then keep going. Okay, rotational symmetry, the type of symmetry to which there is a rotation of 180 degrees or less that maps the figure onto itself. And finally, orientation. Opposite orientation is if a reflection is needed to map one figure onto the other. So that it lands onto it. Okay, you have the same orientation if the reflection is not needed. So you have the same orientation if is if the reflection is not needed. So we'll get a little more clear about that later. Okay, so make sure you guys pause that if you need to get any of those notes. We just wanted to read through that really quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next page. So now we're on page 2. All right, let's talk about translations. So translations is a slide. So that's what we're talking about there. So I'll zoom out a little bit, just a little. All right, so translation, to vertically or horizontally slide a figure. Symbolic form. Okay, so one way to write this is x comma y turns into x plus h comma y plus k. All right, where h is what you do for the horizontal shift, and k is the vertical shift. Excellent. All right, let's do some examples. All right, so for number 1, okay, I personally, so that you can see a pattern here, I personally like to write the coordinates over here to the left of it. So -6, -1, -3, 1, 1, -5, and -2, -7. And notice that me personally, I do not write commas because my commas, I forget to write them sometimes. And then I'm not sure if that's a comma or a negative sign. So for me personally, while I'm doing my work, that's not important to the answer. I'm not going to put commas. All right. So the question is, how do we get from here to do this? So there's 2 ways how to do this. One is take this picture. And we're going to go +5, +7. Now the most important part is you need to go left or right. That's the first thing. So negative versus positive. And then we need to go up or down. So this is negative down and positive up. So these are the directions. So we're going to take each point. So I'm going to put my finger at Q. That way, when I do my motion, after I get to that point of where it's supposed to go, I'm going to be like, wait a minute, what's that point? I don't know what I moved. I forgot. Well, my finger's right here and I'm going to remember. Okay, so I'm going to go +5. So that's going to be to the right. So taking Q, go +5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. +7. So that means up or down. That's up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I landed right there. And that is letter Q. Okay, and then I'm going to take this one. Take R. Go positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that is R. Okay, and then I'm going to take S. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is S. And take T, go positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's my T. All right, and then I'm going to connect those dots. And so this picture should look exactly the same. Now, this was the original, so I always put 0 there, and this is the first action, or I could just shaded that in. Now, please notice that Q to R, you see, to get to Q to R, that's a 2 by 3. It is still a 2 by 3, so it kept its same distance. T is a 3 by 2. That is still a 3 by 2. So it has the same distance as before, and that's a good way to check yourself. All right, so now your final step is to actually write down these numbers. So here's 0, 0. Where is Q really located? That is -1, +6. Okay, and then where's R? That is +1, 2, and that is +8. So +2, +8. And so I would just keep doing that over and over and over again, and just to find those. All right, S, that is +6, +2. And T, now is that 3, 0 or 0, 3? So that's the question. I'm gonna put this right here. So is it 3, 0 or 0, 3? That's the question. Well, how can you figure that out? Well, is this on the x-axis or the y-axis? That is on the x-axis. So because that's on the x-axis, the number 3 is with the x. So this was 3, 0. So 3, 0. So that's one way how to do this. And another way to double check yourself. So we're done with that problem. Here are the answers. Those red are the answer. The other way to double check this, throw this right here, is they said that we were doing x plus 5 and y plus 7. So this is another way of how to do the same problem, but a really good way to double check yourself. All right, right here, all of my x's, I was supposed to add 5. So if I take my x's, so I had -6, I add 5. Yep, and it was -1. And then what was I supposed to do to the y? So -1 plus 7, and that was 6. So that's how you would find a single point. I personally like to go straight down and find all of the x's in one shot. So -6, and I'm going to add 5. -3, I'm going to add 5. 1, add 5. And -2, add 5. So these are all the x's, -1, 2, 6, and 3. So I got that all right. And then all my y's right here, my original y's, how do I get to the new the image? So I had -1, add 7, +1, add 7, -5, add 7, and -7, add 7. So it's supposed to be 6, 8, 2, and 0. So everything checks out. So that is two different ways. You just slide it over graphically and then tell me the coordinates. Or you could do it algebraically. I like to do both of them to double check myself. This is how I catch mistakes. There's a couple different errors that can happen. One is that when you move these, you might accidentally get these two coordinates backwards. You might give me S instead of T. So this just catches that mistake for you. All right, let's try again. So number 3. So we're going to shift down. Let's do number 3. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this picture and we're going to slide it. So we're going to take this and we're going to go +2, -7. So remember, you have to go left to right first. So that's negative, that's positive. Or we're going to go up and down, where this is negative, this is positive. Okay, and that's just how you do coordinates. That's from Unit 0. So on your Unit 0 Hot Topics, that's how you do directions. Okay, all right. So I'm going to put my finger at J, and I'm going to go, and they told me to go +2. So +1, 2, -1, 2. And there's my letter J. I have, take K, go +2, -2. That's K. L, +2, -2. That is L, and an M, +2, -2. That's my M. All right, that one I'm going to shade in because it's kind of hard to stick to notice where it is. All right, so those are the answers. It'll be a good thing to kind of cover up the original so you're not using that. Okay, and then you would figure out where those original coordinates are. So J is -1, 2, 3. Nope, -1, 2. So -2, and then I would go up +1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you would just figure out all those coordinates. That's one way how to do it. The other way is algebraically. So I always like to write down the original coordinates first. Double checking that my positive and negatives, I didn't drop anything. Okay, and then I'm going to do my math. All right, so, and remember, this is just a good way to check yourself. So let's just finish putting down those coordinates and then we'll check. All right, so your K was +2. And I always say positive or negative first, so let me zoom in a little more. So that was +2, +6. Your L was +1, +2. And your M was -3, +1. So now I'm going to double check my answers. Okay, zooming back out a little bit. Okay, so checking my answers, I'm going to check all my X's first. And they said that we're supposed to do add 2 to all the X's and subtract 2 from all the Y's. All right, so let's check. So -4, I'm going to add 2. 0, add 2. -1, add 2. And -5, add 2. So -2, 2, 1, -3. Yep, everything checks out. Okay, and then let's check all of our y's. All right, that was 7 minus 2, 8 minus 2, 4 minus 2, and 3 minus 2. So I did all of these y's. I subtracted 2 from each one, and that was supposed to be 5, 6, 2, and 1. Yep, everything checks out. So I know for a fact that I got number 3 correct. Okay, and number 5. All right, so on number 5, we're going to take this, and they said to go -1, -5. So remember, just write this one more time. This is negative, this is positive, and then I would go up or down. This is negative, this is positive. All right, we're going to go, so I'm going to start at S. I'm going to go -1, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I always say positive or negative first, kind of resets myself. A lot of mistakes are 1, and then a lot of people go 2, 3, 4, 5, and end a little too early. If I say -1, negative, I've reset myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's my S. U, -1, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's U. And -1, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my T. So let's connect those dots. All right, so this is the original, this is the first action. Okay, so now where are those coordinates? All right, so here's 0, 0. All right, S, that's what they're asking for. S is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so -5, -1, 2, 3. T, oh, I totally would have done U next, but it's T. That is a very common mistake. We were about to get those two backwards. So T is over here. That is positive 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And finally, U is -1, 2, 3, -7. Okay, now I want to double check my answers. So I'm going to do this algebraically. So I'm going to take these original coordinates, -4, +2, 5, +5, -1, and -2, -2. And what was I supposed to do? That was x -1, y -5. So I'm just double checking everything. So I'm getting my calculator here. Zoom out a little bit. All right. Just center that. Okay. So taking my calculator, I'm going to do all my x's first. So -4, I'm supposed to subtract 1. 5 minus 1. And -2 minus 1. My answers were supposed to be -5, 4, and -3. Yep, that checks out. Now let's check all of our y's. So 2 minus 5, -1 minus 5, and -2 minus 5. So I took all of my y's, I subtracted 5, and I'm supposed to get -3, -6, -7. Perfect. I checked all my answers. I know this is correct. All right, so this is what I want you to try now. I want you to pause the video, and I want you guys to try number 2. So pause your video and try number 2. All right. Hopefully you pause your video. We're going to see if you guys got that right. So for number 2, the answer should have been these. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that right, or you're catching your mistakes. That's the most important part. All right, let's try again. So number 4. Number 4, I want you to pause your video and try it again. So pause, see if you guys, so move that -7, -6. So to the left 7, down 6, and get those dots. So give that a try. All right, let's see if you guys got that right. For number 4, the answer should have been this. So double check your answers. Hopefully you're getting it right, and hopefully you're figuring out what you're supposed to do. So we're supposed to go left 7, down 6. And notice that there's a little prime on here. That's the new image. When I do my work, do not put primes because the primes kind of look like my dots. So I just leave it alone. When I'm doing my work, I don't show those. All right, now your turn. And one more. I want you guys to try number 6. So pause the video, try number 6. Hopefully you paused. Now let's see if you got it right. So for number 6, here are the answers. You were supposed to go, take the original, go +4, -1, and this is new answers, and here are those. Okay, And we're going to turn, so you should have all these done. All right, so that was page 2. So page 2 should be completely done. And I want you guys to go to page 3. So everyone's going to page 3. So on page 3, we're going to move down to number 5 and 6. All right, let's move down to number 5. So this is page 3. All right, so now on this, we want to know how do we get from the original to the new shape. And what they're going to have on the computer is x, comma, y. And how's that turn into x plus something, comma, y plus something. That's what's going to happen on the computer. So the question is, how did you get there? All right, which one is the new shape? So look, this one has a W and this has a W with a little apostrophe on here. So the little apostrophe, that is read as W prime. That's how it's read. That's what it means. And that is the new shape. So which one's the new one? The right or the left? In this case, the left one. So the question is, how do you get from the old shape to the new shape? So you just need to pick one of these coordinates. One of them that's mostly out of the way. It doesn't matter which one. So how do I get from x to x prime or w to w prime? So I want to know, how do I get from the white one to the red one? So starting at the original, so in this case w, did you go right or left? And did you go up or down? That's the order that you're supposed to do this. So I'm not like, why? A lot of people go down first. No. You have to go left. We would have to go left, then down. All right, so W, I would go left. So that's negative 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went negative 4, and then I went down negative 1, 2, 3. Now, how do I write that in here? Well, x plus, well, that was a negative 4. And how do I write this here? Down 3, that's negative 3. So this is how you're going to type it in the computer. But if you were writing it nice and clean, you would write it as x minus 4, comma, y minus 3. So that's how you're supposed to write it when you're done with it. But in the computer, if they already have a plus sign, you would have to put a negative 4. And that's how you do that. Okay, let's do it one more time. So that was number 5. And now let's try number 6. Okay, which one's the new shape? The top or the bottom? In this case, the bottom, because that's the one with the prime. All right, pick a point. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to pick Q because it's the most out of the way. So going left to right, I went right 1. So that's positive 1. And I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's negative 7. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right, so on this one, so if we have x comma y, how does that turn into x plus a number and y plus a number? So in our case, the positive 1, we would just put 1, not positive 1, just the number 1. And then how do I type in the negative 7? Just plus a negative 7. And those are your answers. All right, hopefully that helped you guys out. Have a great and wonderful day.